Bank. Now, here's Ferenc Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. I've got something interesting today, a little bit different that I want to talk about, and I'm excited. I read a lot of different, financial journals, articles, pretty much on a daily basis, as you would probably expect. I mean, it's my industry. It's what I deal with. So I'm always watching and reading and various articles and stuff. And very, very seldom do I find an article that shares some information that it's a little bit different, but is so accurate. And I know I might step on some toes when I say this, but so many of the articles that I read, they basically say the same thing over and over and over again. It's almost like everybody's reading from this same mantra or whatever it is. And I just find it very uninspired, if you want to say, and a lot of the advice that's given is good advice. Don't get me wrong. But it's just it becomes so trite. And for various people, it applies, it works, hang in there, diversify, stock, bond, mutual fund, diversify, hang in there for the long run. And again, a lot of those things are good advice, but, it doesn't always apply to every individual. It's sort of like blanket statements that are made. So this article I read, and literally I read it yesterday, and it was one of the best articles I think I've ever read, and it was in Forbes of all places. So I was surprised to find the name of the article is called 9 Strategies to Build Wealth Fast That Your Financial Advisor Won't Tell You. And it's written by Jeff Rose, the CFP. I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can get him on the show maybe at some point in the future, because I just love what he shared here. And some of the information he shares here fits right in with what I've been talking to people about and sharing with them, with clients, prospects, workshops I do on the radio, whatever, for, a couple decades now. And so here's the thing. I love when he starts it off. He says, he loves the Roth IRA, and he makes a joke that he tried to convince his third son, when they had their third son, to name him Roth. He was kind of sort of joking because, he had a young investor. Like you said, anytime he had a young investor get started, he always loved getting them started on a Roth IRA. And even if they can only put $50 or $100 a month into it, with the power of compound interest, which I totally agree with him. It's amazing. They would be more financially secure than, as he puts in the article, over 99.9% of the population now. But what rocked his world and why he wrote this article is something that I've lived personally and have shared with so many of my clients. He had a good friend of his that was a client, and he had started a Roth, and he was younger and was putting money into it, and going to get the compound interest and all that good stuff, of course. But his friend decided he wanted to start a photography business. And to his dismay, his friend didn't have funds really to start the business in any other way except taking the money, the amount he had wasn't a lot, but what he had put away, into his Roth, take it out, of course, pay the penalties, the taxes, and all that kind of stuff, and start his photography studio. And like he said, he needed to update his camera, he needed backdrops, he needed, stuff to start this business. And, and he told me, bottom line, he felt like he'd get a much larger return on investment investing in his business and himself than, with the Roth IRA. And as he states, in his article, he says, "At first I was speechless. How he dare ruin his financial future by, cashing out his Roth. Didn't he see how much he was costing himself?" And then this next statement, this next line is what really opened my eyes. He said, "Look, I was a W-2 employee in the time. And although I understood the concept of unlimited revenue, I couldn't relate to what he was doing. In my mind, he just immediately dismissed it. I can't tell you how many times over the years I've had clients I've worked with who are business owners, and a majority of my clients I work with are entrepreneurs. And if you've heard my story I've shared with you, I'm a serial entrepreneur myself. I'm in the process of starting my 4th company, bank. I'm the chairman of the board of a bank in formation, FDIC, federally insured bank. We're excited about that. I own the financial agency, a financial services business, a company. I've owned a retail business. I've owned a contracting company. So, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I think that's why so many of my clients are entrepreneurs and people I work with. And I'm talking to you that are entrepreneurs or considering wanting to do something. In fact, I was speaking to a group in Chicago recently, an investor group. A lot of them in the room were real estate investors, and one of my statements to them was, look, you're not a real estate investor, you're a business owner. And if real estate is your specialty, you're not a real estate investor, you're a business owner who happens to specialize in real estate. So you have to, and why is that so important? What's the distinction? If you're going to run a business, you got to think like a business. You got to operate like a business. And the Small Business Administration talks about all the time the two primary reasons why, over 50%, they state over 50% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. Why? Well, as they state over and over again, and this hasn't changed for decades, is the two primary reasons is lack of knowledge, expertise, and lack of capital. The personal bank is why I get so excited about it, because it can really do a lot to resolve that issue of lack of capital. It's changed the financial trajectory of our business. I started using it about 7 years ago ourselves with our insurance agency. And just like most companies, our financial insurance agency has cycles. It has seasons, if you will. Most people don't want to talk to us during the Christmas, New Year holiday period. Frankly, I'm working and I've got family. I work hard all year. I don't really want to talk to anybody then either. I enjoy the break. Okay? It's not that I'm complaining. It's just a fact. And because we speak to so many fewer people in the month of December particularly, we do a lot less business. Our company does. And, of course, revenues reflect that. The same thing happens in the summertime, too. In July, it's hot in Phoenix. And a lot of people are on vacation and out of town, as I do the same thing for the same reason. So we really go through two cycles, if you will, every year of where our business income takes a significant drop. So we have our busy seasons and our slow seasons. And most businesses have that kind of normal business cycle. I've owned this particular company now going on 16 years. And for the first 8 or 9 years of it, as my wife would say, we rode the roller coaster up and down twice a year, basically. You could almost like clockwork. We had a line of credit and things like that with the bank to help offset some of those expenses, those costs, okay, during the slow season. And we paid them back in the busy season. Why I'm so excited about the personal bank is I've shared this before. When I first looked at it, the first immediate thing I saw as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I saw a way to develop cash reserves and not have borrowing costs when we needed to access those funds like you do with a line of credit. So it could continue to grow our money, continue to get compound interest on that money, and now we have the opportunity for positive arbitrage on top of it, which I'll explain further, or if you want more information, contact us at yourpersonalbank.com. The key is this. I saw it as a way to get away from those extra expenses and the control that the lenders, the banks, had on our company. It smoothed out our expenses. It smoothed out that normal cycle. It's eliminated a lot of that financial stress that happened, pretty much a couple times every year. And it's refreshing. It's refreshing to have a situation where you have a business with seasonal cycles, like most businesses, but yet we don't have to have that problem of where's the cash funds to pay the normal ongoing expenses that any business has. So the point I'm making about this article is, as a W-2 employee, he couldn't see the bigger picture. And I can say this to anyone who's a business owner, an entrepreneur, or considering to be one. Would you get advice about your business from someone who's never owned a business? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. And I'm not saying there's financial advisors that can't give good advice. There's lots of them out there. But what I'm saying is you as an entrepreneur, if you're talking about financial goals and trying to accomplish things, and you're talking to somebody that doesn't have that entrepreneurial experience, background, think about the value of some of that advice and the perception where they're coming from. I'm going to share more about this article. There's some more really interesting things about strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you in the next segment.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with the president and founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. And by the way, I've got to apologize. Got a bit of a frog in the throat, if you will. You know, I got that flu, got around, lost my voice, so just getting back on my feet. So I apologize in advance if it's a little scratchy. But we're talking about 9 strategies to build wealth fast. It's an article I read in Forbes magazine and it's nine strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you. And like I was saying in the first segment, I read a lot of articles, I pay attention, get a lot of the trade journals, all those kind of things. And very seldom do I find one that I feel like shares information that's maybe a little bit different than the normal mantra that we hear all the time. And this particular article really, it's one of the best I've ever read. I read it literally yesterday, and it just jumped out at me. And the key point that this CFP, Jeff Rose, is saying is, look, he had experience in training as a typical financial advisor. So we're talking about this article, 9 strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you. And the Jeff Rose, the CFP that wrote this article, is in Forbes. It really got my attention because, again, I've shared with you, I read so many different articles on a regular basis, trade magazines and such, and so many of the articles just share the same mantra that we hear all the time. It's rare that you get new information, and this is, I have found, I think, very valuable new information. The gist of the article basically is he's a financial advisor getting taught the normal Roth IRAs. He loves Roth IRAs, compound interest, all those kinds of things. And he has a young client of his and a friend who started a Roth, but then not too long after decided to pull that Roth, paid penalties, taxes, whatever on it, and decided to start a photography business. And it did not register with him. He was shocked. But as he put it, he goes, I was a W-2 employee at the time, and I understood the concept of entrepreneurship, as he puts it, but really didn't. I can't tell you how many folks I've talked to, like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I've shared, working on my 5th business right now. And as an entrepreneur, it's different than if you've worked for somebody your whole life. I have a number of clients I've worked with over the years one comes to mind. He was a corporate guy. He worked in L.A. He worked in a number of the studios, marketing. He was pretty independent type of employee, but he was still an employee. He worked his way up pretty high up into that whole industry, and, summarily got laid off a few years ago. And bounced around trying to find another job, ultimately decided he wasn't going to be able to. Now he's in his early, mid-50s. He wasn't that hireable anymore. And so he decided to get into, and he bought a business. And he had the business for like a month, and he called me. And he said, Ference, I know you've talked about it before, but I had no idea. It was a challenge. There was many challenges in owning a small business. As I just had no idea. He thought he'd buy this business, kind of manage it, show up a few hours a day. He had employees and all that, figured it would manage itself more or less, and the reality was far from what he thought. We spent the next 90 minutes talking about different things, different ideas, and helped him get his business off the ground and going, if you know what I'm saying. Entrepreneurship, there's definitely some rewards to it. No question. There's flexibility, your schedule and things. But don't think it's easy. Don't ever think it's easy. And as he's not the only one. I've had several other clients over the years who went from working in the corporate world, working as an employee, moved into the ownership side. And almost without exception, it's like, wow, there's more to this than I thought. I thought I knew. And that's like I said, Small Business Administration shares it all the time. 2 main reasons why most businesses fail is in the first 5 years, over 50% they state, is because lack of knowledge, expertise, and lack of capital. Again, the personal bank can be a big tool in helping create that capital for you. And lack of expertise, gosh, you just got to learn. And that's something along in this article. He talks about strategies to build wealth fast. What should you do? Well, I think some of them, as I said, drop your living expenses like crazy. Save on your housing, your car. Don't buy crap. Save a percentage of your income. He's right. We've talked about a lot of those things using the 80-10-10 rule. Live on 80%, save 10%, give away 10%. Those are things that have to be done realistically to be successful in the entrepreneurship arena. And he points out, work hard now, no matter where you are in your career. He talks about working as an intern, unpaid intern. Still worked hard, ultimately ended up becoming a successful job for him, and then later developed a business. And he says, imagine then you're the CEO. I like that statement. Another one was invest in your education. I always tell people, and that's also fits in with what the Small Business Administration talks about. Lack of knowledge or expertise is one of the two big reasons they state businesses fail. You need to understand your business. Find a niche market. Talking to a couple business owners recently who owned an electrical contracting business, two brothers, partners. And we were talking about the personal bank, and they were looking at their business was doing well, they were being successful, but they still had challenges and problems. And we talked about the personal bank and what it could do for their business. They were very excited about it, become clients, of course. But actually, when I met with them we met for dinner for a couple hours, and probably 3/4 of the discussion was about their business. I've owned a contracting business before. They were fairly new at it, and they had some questions. And I stated with them, here's some of your biggest challenges. Correct me if I'm wrong. Boom, boom, boom. And they were like, you're absolutely right. How do you know? I said, I've owned a contracting business before successfully until I had a couple of back injuries that forced me out of it. They're like, wow. And they were excited about talking to me about their business. I often joke I should probably start a business consulting business, if you will. Maybe I will someday. I don't know. But for me, I find it fun. I enjoy sharing with other entrepreneurs because I've got so much varied background in business with retail, contracting, the bank now. I have a financial service company. There's so many varied directions. And then having the financial background gives me a wide range of experience. And why is that important? Well, again, if you're an entrepreneur or considering being an entrepreneur, and you're talking to a financial advisor, can they give you good advice? Certainly. But can they give you advice that would fit with your goals with your business if they've not had business experience, business ownership experience themselves? And the answer I would say is probably not. Like he says in this article, Jeff speaks in this article, as a W-2 employee and then later as a 1099, although he had a lot of flexibility, had no comprehension of what it took really to run a business, or the challenges as a business owner has to face or deal with or overcome to be successful. And again, why do I get excited about the personal bank concept? Again, in my opinion, I see it's not for everybody, but certainly in my opinion, as an entrepreneur, one of the most important financial tools you can employ to help your business be successful. Because having a cash reserve, having ready access to funds, both for opportunities and emergencies, are key. It's not like you can, if your business is struggling, it's not like you can go to a lender at that point and say, hey, can I borrow money? They're going to want collateral. They're going to want to see positive cash flow. And if you're struggling and it's like a ship going down, if you know what I'm saying. Having cash, ready access to cash in a personal bank can help keep that ship afloat and get you through that, either that normal business cycle that happens with most businesses seasonally, or when bigger things happen, economic cycles happen, or competition comes in, or there's changes, and whatever it is you're dealing with. You have to be nimble and address those issues to be successful in business. And who is a business owner? Pretty much anybody that's spending time and effort generating income outside of a normal job scenario. I mean, if you have entities, LLCs and corporations, for example, clearly you're a business owner. The IRS looks at you that way too. So you can be a part-time business owner, you can be a full-time business owner, but you still have to apply these business principles. I'm going to share there's a few more key points in here that I thought were really interesting in terms of this article about 9 strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you. It was in Forbes magazine. We'll share more in the next segment. And tune in every Tuesday at noon to the Your Personal Bank Show on 1510 AM or 105.3 FM.
For more information on your personal bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show, and we're talking about a very interesting article called 9 Strategies to Build Wealth Fast That Your Financial Advisor Won't Tell You. It was written by Jeff Rose, CFP. It was in Forbes magazine, and like I said, I read a lot of articles, a lot of trade journals, and very seldom does an article really jump out at me in sharing some information that I think is valuable and different. And the biggest key point is here, Jeff was a CFP, trained like a typical financial advisor, and the advice he gave as a W-2 employee, later 1099, was different than what he gave later when he became an entrepreneur himself. The key is this: the advice that you get from a financial advisor. I'm not saying that if they haven't had any business experience, they can't give valuable advice. They can. But if you're an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to invest in some real estate, or you want to do this, you're a business person. And if you're doing or considering those types of activities, the Small Business Administration states the top 2 reasons why small businesses fail in the first 5 years is lack of knowledge, expertise, and lack of capital. And having an advisor who's had experience as a business entrepreneur would be very, very valuable. Whether you've been in business for a while and you just need that third part. I love talking with a lot of my clients, and I'll say, look, you're trying to make this decision. You got a big decision to make with your business. And a lot of times you've got people that you're talking to who have a iron in the fire, if you know what I'm trying to say, depending on which direction this person goes. And I'm like, look, I have nothing in this. Whether you do make this decision one way or the other, there's no skin off my nose. So I'm an independent, looking in, and just another consideration. And someone who with business experience. I've owned retail business, service company, contracting company, financial services, and now working on a bank, actually, bank information, chairman of the board of it. So got a wide varied entrepreneurial background experience, plus the financial background. And there's some things a lot of times I'll say to people, my clients or whatever, and say, hey, have you considered this, or have you thought about this? And it's just that sounding board, that third party, that's so valuable and important for many of their businesses. Like I said, if you're talking to a financial advisor who doesn't have business experience, can they help you? Can they give you good advice? Sure. Can they give you advice regarding your business? The answer is probably not. In other words, if you own a business and you have employees, and you're talking to somebody who's an employee who's never owned a business, ever, would you get advice from them on how to make a critical business decision? Probably not. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's just a value to have that financial advisor who's got the entrepreneurial experience. And who's an entrepreneur? Anybody who's doing anything outside of a normal job, work environment to raise income or make income. Real estate investors are a perfect example of that. Anyone who uses a corporation or LLC, any type of business. There's online businesses. There's all types of businesses out there, or business endeavors, whether it's full or part-time, that people do. And to get advice from somebody who has had some business experience, extremely valuable. Small Business Administration agrees completely. In fact, with my first business, a retail store, one of the most valuable things that I ever received was from an organization called SCORE, which is out of the Small Business Administration. And they provided to me for free, I had to apply for this, but I qualified, as a new young business owner, once a month consulting with an experienced business owner. I got a retired retail business owner, met with me for the next 2 years. We went for lunch. One of the most valuable things that I learned more from that gentleman than almost anybody I talked to about business. And that's how helped me become successful in that business and then businesses later. Because some business aspects apply across the board no matter what type of business. There's specifics, of course, in different industries, but there are certain things that are just across the board. And again, if you're talking to an advisor, consider this. If they've got no experience and you've got some entrepreneurial intentions, or you're doing it already, getting some advice from somebody who understands that, who's been there, done that, is very, very valuable. Some of the things in this article I thought was great. The 9 strategies to build wealth fast your financial advisor won't tell you. He talked about in the previous segments, drop your living expenses like crazy. Save on vehicles, shelter, don't buy crap, save a percentage of your income. That is tremendously important because you've got to have cash reserves. All business administration states that, okay? If you're going to be successful in business. The personal bank is a great tool I have found personally and with many of my clients in creating those cash reserves for your business. That was the first purpose I saw and used for my personal bank with our company starting 7 years ago. It's changed the financial trajectory of our company. We have cash when we need it during the cycles, the slow cycles of any, like any season. Business has seasons, right? So it's tremendously changed that roller coaster we used to live on. Made life a lot smoother, a lot better. My wife's a lot happier. And guys, I can tell you when the wife's happy, well, they say when mama ain't happy, ain't no one happy. You know what I'm trying to say. So it's important. Work hard now. Oh, by the way, if you want to learn more about the personal bank concept, contact us at yourpersonalbank.com. Be happy to share with you. And if you got some business ideas or need a sounding board for somebody on a business project you're working on or considering, hey, reach out to us. I'd be happy to talk to you. I love talking to other entrepreneurs or people who are considering being entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I'm a serial entrepreneur, okay? So that's what I do. And then having the financial background on top of it gives me some unique insight, or very rare insight, I'll put it that way. A few other thoughts on this article. Cutting expenses, that makes a lot of sense. Work hard now. Imagine that you're a CEO, even if you're just an intern. In other words, work hard, learn that business, and especially if you're working in an industry you're considering that you might want to own, be an owner in that industry. I started there with my my retail plant nursery. I worked at one first for quite some time to learn the business, to learn the ropes. I had a degree. That was my very first business. I knew I did not have business experience. I read everything I could, talked to people, told you about the SCORE with the Small Business Administration organization. But I also worked at a nursery for quite a while to learn the ropes, to learn the business. Okay? Invest in your education. Gosh, I always tell people this all the time. I meet with different groups who meet regularly, investor groups and things. I speak for them. And you can never take away knowledge. So invest in yourself. That's one of the best ways to move forward in your career and your business. Let's face it. And invest in yourself in your marketing. Marketing is important. Having a coach. He even talks about having a coach. He has a strategic coach. I've kind of become a quasi-coach, if you will, to a lot of entrepreneurs who are clients of mine today. And it's just something I do because I enjoy it. Maybe I'll make a business of it someday. We'll see. And then, of course, venture into entrepreneurship. He refers to the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. I've referred and recommended that book to many people. There's lots of great books in terms of entrepreneurship and ideas. You want to read those to learn how to develop that income in a successful business. And his 9th one, well, we'll save that for the last segment because that's one I have a lot of experience with that I think is quite interesting. But again, if you're considering entrepreneurship or you are an entrepreneur, either full or part-time, having an advisor and having a financial advisor with entrepreneurial experience, in my opinion, is tremendously valuable. Because coming from a job mentality, an advisor is one thing. Coming from an entrepreneurial mentality is totally different. And again, if your desire is to become an entrepreneur, become a business owner, or you are one, you need to have advisors and people that understand what it takes, what's involved, what are the challenges, how do you overcome those things, and how do you prevent the lack of experience and the lack of capital? How do you fix those two problems so you can improve the likelihood that your business will succeed, as the Small Business Administration states all the time? This is the Your Personal Bank Show on Money Radio 1510 or 105.3 FM. Tune in every Tuesday at noon. Check us out. We'll see you in the next segment. I'll share the last point on this article about 9 strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you.
For more information on your personal bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with President and Founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome back. We're rounding third, last segment. We're talking about 9 strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you. It's an article I found in Forbes written by Jeff Rose, CFP. Apologize, the voice, getting over the flu, what can I say? I'm doing the best I can, but hope you didn't get it. That's for sure. Anyway, bottom line, here's the key. I've shared in the previous segments. I read a lot of books, read a lot of articles, a lot of trade journals, a lot of great stuff. And very seldom does an article jump out at me that gives information that I think is different and valuable. And I think this is tremendously valuable. This is, you're talking about as a young CFP, he was starting out, taught like a typical financial advisor. The advice that he was giving out. And the reality is, as he pointed out, he was a W-2 employee at the time, then later became 1099, had some flexibility, but he was still an employee. And until he changed and became an entrepreneur, there were things that he just couldn't comprehend, couldn't share. And his advice is different today than it was then, of course. And as I share people all the time, look, if you're an entrepreneur, full or part-time, or want to be, and you're talking to a financial advisor, you need to consider, not that they can't give you good advice, that's not what I'm saying, but you need to consider can you give you the valuable advice you need as an entrepreneur. Do they have entrepreneurial experience themselves? I've shared this many times. I'm a serial entrepreneur myself. I'm working on my 5th business as we speak. I've owned a retail business. I've owned a contracting company, service company, a financial services company, and now chairman of the board of a bank in formation, an FDIC federally insured bank. That's quite a variety of experiences on an entrepreneurial standpoint, and I'm a financial person. So if you put all that together, I can share some pretty unique insights for the most part, and it's something you certainly should consider if, you're an entrepreneur, full part-time, or want to be. Some of the things in the article I thought that really stood out, and I've shared some in the previous segments. I'm going to zip through them fast and then go to the last one. 9 strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you. I found it in Forbes. By the way, if you want the copy of this article, contact us at yourpersonalbank.com. I'll be happy to send it to you. Also, if you want to discuss how your personal bank can solve one of the 2 major problems that the Small Business Administration shares as the top 2 reasons why small businesses fail the first 5 years. Lack of knowledge and expertise is the first one. The second one is lack of capital. Your personal bank can create that capital reserve, access to capital you need to be successful with any business. I talk about this all the time. Taking advantage of opportunities when they present themselves and or cover emergencies when they happen. You've got to have that capability. And he talks about this in the article. 9 strategies to build wealth. First one, he talks drop your living expenses like crazy. Saving on vehicles in your home. Don't buy crap. Save a percentage of your income. All those things are important because you've got to have that cash reserve like the Small Business Administration talks about. Work hard now. Invest in your education. Act like you're the CEO even if you're the intern because you want to learn your business. Wherever you're working now, you can learn and apply some of those things. My first business I mentioned was a retail business. I worked in that same retail. I worked in that industry and then in that same company for a while before buying it because I wanted to learn that business, okay? Investing in your education, reading things, getting certifications, whatever it may be, very important both for your career and for any entrepreneurship. Okay, you can never take away knowledge. Knowledge is powerful. Invest in yourself and your marketing. He talks about getting a strategic coach, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm kicking around the idea. I've been told I should be a entrepreneur coach. Okay, I do that for a lot of my clients, just as part of what the services we provide, because one, I think it's important, and frankly, two, I enjoy it. To me, it's fun to talk to fellow entrepreneurs or folks that wanting to be entrepreneurs and encouraging them, and then sharing with them the challenges, the things that could, what do they need to address, what do they need to overcome, to be successful. Entrepreneurship is not easy. And I'm going to tell everybody straight up, if you're wanting the easy road, don't start a business. There's always going to be challenges and unforeseen circumstances that occur. It has rewards, absolutely. You can gain flexibility and control over your life, no question. But it's not going to be an easy, you're not going to take it easy and be successful, okay? So don't be afraid to work hard. You got to work smart. Venture into entrepreneurship. He talks about that in this article. But the last one I thought was interesting is he said, hey, try real estate. And as he says, speaking of real estate, all it didn't work out for me, and not right for everyone, it certainly worked out for others. I've invested in real estate myself. I've shared the story. My wife and I have we purchased over 30 properties over about a 3-year period, did lease options. We did, we later moved into developing, buying land, bringing the roads, the wells, the whole thing, building houses. Okay, and that worked successfully for a while. Of course, 08, 09 hit us, and we learned some hard lessons about the risk involved in land development, real estate development. If I had had the personal bank back then and applied some of the techniques then that I do now, certainly the experience would have been different. Did we make money from it? Absolutely, overall. But again, it was a hard learning experience through that cycle. I wish I had, I wish I had the mentors in that arena I have today in the real estate world. Then I could have avoided a lot of those mistakes. And in terms of, a lot of people are interested in investing in real estate. Again, my first advice, just like he says in this article, get the education and the knowledge, learn, have the capital reserves. Don't buy into the whole idea you can buy real estate with no money down and things like that. Those things, although can work, involve a heck of a lot more legwork and typically are not nearly as successful. You have to have some money to make money. Okay, you have to have some reserves and some cash available and capability of having access to funds. That's, again, where the personal bank comes in. And if you want more information, contact us at yourpersonalbank.com. If you want some advice about your business or your business idea, contact us. Be happy to talk to you about it and maybe see how the personal bank could fit into your plans. Again, it's not for everyone, but it's certainly something you should look at and consider. And I guess the whole gist of the show that I want to share with today, and this article, like I said, 9 financial strategies to build wealth fast that your financial advisor won't tell you. It really comes down to this. Most financial advisors, no fault of their own, are employees. They work for a company, whether they're 1099, W-2, whatever, that's not important. But they work for somebody, and they have to follow their rules and what they do and what they tell them, okay? And there's a difference from being an employee standpoint and being the owner, the business owner. And if you're a person who, through your investments, through your income, whatever it is you want to do, you have an entrepreneurial bent. You have a desire to do something to make more money. Again, whether it's full or part-time is not important. You have to apply business principles to your business to be successful. Okay, Small Business Administration, I've referred to many times, talks about that. There's some great resources there. But you need a mentor. You need to talk to somebody who's been there, done that, has had some experience, and someone with some financial background on top of it isn't a bad combination. I'm not trying to tout myself, but the reality is it's one of those things where this is important to understand. This is information that's valuable, and you really want to get that information and that feedback, and it'll increase your likelihood of success exponentially. Otherwise, you become one of those small business statistics where you thought this sounded great, seemed like a great idea. You read a book, went to a workshop, seminar, whatever, did a little bit of research, bought into the idea, and realized, wait a minute, there's a lot more to this than I realized. And you don't want to be surprised by those kinds of things. School of Hard Knocks is a tough lesson and an expensive lesson that can be avoided by having the right mentors, the right knowledge, the right information, and then having that cash reserves, and having a situation where you have access to capital to take advantage of opportunities, like I said, when they present themselves. That's how businesses become successful. Or handle the emergencies when they occur, because that's just life. That's how it happens. So again, contact us at yourpersonalbank.com and tune in to Your Personal Bank Show every Tuesday at noon on Money Radio 1510 AM or 105.3 FM. See you next week.
Listen next week at noon for more information on Your Personal Bank. Contact Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com.
This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guests on this program do not engage in rendering legal, accounting, or tax advice. Expert advice from a professional involving your specific situation should be sought, if required. Permanent life insurance is a long-term investment. Products, optional features, and riders may have limitations, restrictions, and additional charges and may not be available in all states. Withdrawals beyond principal may be taxable income. Excessive and unpaid loans may cause the policy to lapse. If a policy lapses, unpaid loans are treated as distributions for tax purposes. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be penalties and surrender charges when replacing coverage. New products may include new surrender charges and contestability period. Policy guarantees are based upon the claims-paying ability of issuing insurance company and do not apply to the investment performance or assets in the underlying variable portfolios. The life insurance and annuity products in this presentation are not FDIC insured, may lose value, and are not bank guaranteed.